Rebel Force Radio presents
Experimental Unit Clone Force 99. The defective clones with desirable mutations. They call themselves the Bad Batch.
The Bad Batch.
This is the Bad Batch After Show.
Hey, could someone get Wrecker, a bear, aspirin, or something? I mean, I'm finally paying attention to this headache that a lot of you have been telling us about through the live chat. I know that there have been clues. We talked about the first time that when he hit his head, he bonked his head, but it just keeps getting worse. It's like that migraine that just won't go away. And I'm very happy. It seems like maybe the powers that be were listening to the Bad Batch After Show last week. Listen to me whine because I wanted some meat. This one, there was some meat here. At least there were some really fun Easter eggs. We'll talk about whether or not it resolved appropriately, because man, they are really building up to who this person is that commissioned Fennec Shand. But we'll get to all of that and more here on the Bad Batch After Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking time out of your day to chat with us and break down this episode. We've got our usual setup here where we'll be taking your phone calls, and if you're within the sound of our voices and you're able to participate in the live chat, we'll be looking at those as best we can as well. And of course, I'm not alone. With me, as always, my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Oh, Jason, I don't know. I got a pounding headache. I don't think I can do the show. You're gonna have to carry on without me this week. Oh, I can't explain this headache.
Oh no. I guess Tyler's going to have to jump in here, because you got to be locked up. You're too much of a liability if you got the headache. You could go.
It's nothing. Nothing. No. Don't bring in Tyler for me. Once Tyler sits in, people will never want me to come back. So. But yeah, how obvious is it that we're building up towards something happening with Wrecker's head? I think we all know where this is leading. There's going to be some malfunction of that inhibitor chip.
Yeah.
Or something. Just give the poor guy an Advil already, will you? And let him lay down for a minute.
No
been,
kidding.
3 weeks in a row he's been complaining of this headache?
Right. I mean, most doctors will tell you if the headache lasts longer than 3 weeks, you should probably go see one.
Yeah, I'm surprised Tech hasn't started waving the red flag.
Maybe we should take a closer look at this guy.
Because he's the analyst.
Yeah.
Thinking guy, he's the analytical brain of the group. He should have figured out by now that Wrecker's recurring headache could be an issue. Potentially connected to those inhibitor chips, which Tech is busy trying to create a device to scan the chips. Well, we'll see how that all works out. I have the feeling as soon as he gets that device put together, whatever's going on in old Wrecker's head is going to snap. At the same moment.
Yeah, right at the time they're able to detect it.
Hey, sit down. Let me scan you. Hulk smash. Yeah, I have a feeling that's the direction we're heading in with Wrecker. It's a slow burn, but it should be a really fun payoff, I hope.
Chut to everybody on the chat. We're seeing some new faces and some new names because we're actually, of course, recording at a slightly different time this week. So it's great to be able to spread it around. I'm seeing Jeff Holland on here saying that he was excited that he was able to join for the first time, and others. Peter, I got to say, Peter, I'm going to throw this up here because this might be a recurring idea. But Peter Bessier is saying all the Bad Batch are going to go bad. He's making a very bold prediction here, but wouldn't that be something if that's really what this series was about, is to watch all of them one by one be taken from themselves, and what does that mean for Omega? And that's a very interesting idea. Yeah, but not to bury the lead, because the biggest repercussion in this episode, and I know I'm probably making an assumption here, but I think we could have called this episode "Luke Killed Moochie." I think we can assume that cute little Moochie the adolescent Rancor that we meet is indeed the Rancor that, takes on Luke and the Gamorreans in Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi. At least that's in my own headcanon now.
Yeah. It's a little difficult to swallow now that the Rancor has a name.
Yeah.
Moochie, even. It's a cute name. And was a cute little infant Rancor. Now, I saw somebody complaining online saying, now they're trying to make Luke evil by saying he killed this precious little Moochie. And I don't think we're going that far because remember, we knew that the Rancor was beloved after Luke killed it. Remember, the Rancor keeper was weeping tears with his monster pet.
All right, I have an answer for this, and it's so it takes us off topic of Bad Batch. That I'm just gonna tease it. We'll do it on the next Rebel Force Radio because I actually have a pretty solid answer for this.
What's the question?
About does this make Luke evil? And what was going on in Luke's head when he killed the Rancor? Because it is established. Grab the Return of the Jedi novelization and read that scene, the original novelization, and you'll read what's going on in Luke's head because he viewed it. He felt pity for the creature and thought that as much as he hated to do this, to kill this creature, he thought in the end, I mean, first of all, he had to save himself and his friends. And secondly, he believed that it was almost a mercy killing.
Yeah, no, see, Jason, this isn't taking us off topic at all because this episode has inspired conversation based on what we're talking about right now.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
What are the implications of Moochie growing up to be that hideous, wart-covered, slimy monster that lived in Jabba's dungeon? He was a beloved pet named Moochie once, who the Bad Batch thought was worthy of rescue. But, the Bad Batch, they're mercenaries, so they're living in that world that, Jabba the Hutt and all of his pals run around in. It was good seeing Bib Fortuna in this episode, too.
Oh,
you
very
knew right
cool.
Away it was
yeah.
Bib.
Yeah,
you knew right away.
Yeah, they tried to get to tease it, but it was like, oh, come on. I know those fingernails anywhere.
And Matt Wood, further, planting his fingernails into the role. I was just thinking, watching that today, wow, what a journey he's been on with that character. Matthew was strictly a sound guy. He was a sound engineer working for Ben Burt at the Skywalker Sound, and he was just plucked because they needed someone to play Bib Fortuna in front of a green screen in The Phantom Menace. And so Matt he put on all the stuff and just stood there and did it. He didn't deliver any lines or anything. He slapped Jabba and woke him up. That was fun. But all of that stuff was shot on the ILM sound stages, and they just used Matt.
Yeah.
He fit the suit, I guess. He fit the tails, the head tails. And now here we are all these years later where he owns the character now. He's going to play it. He played it in the end of The Mandalorian. Took a blaster bolt to the chest.
Yeah, he finished the character, I think, really.
He did. And then he, of course, is now voicing the character in The Bad Batch. I think that's really cool. I think that's a long, strange trip for Matt Wood and Bib Fortuna.
It really is. I have to say this, though, everyone knows what a fan I am of Return of the Jedi, and it was extremely momentous for me when I saw it in the theater as a kid. And that Jabba's palace sequence, the opening the door, the Gamorrean guards, I mean, it was just, it was transformational for me. But Michael Carter's performance as Bib Fortuna originally in that voice, and I believe he did the voice too. Jim, I'm not meaning to put you on the spot, but I think he did. I don't think he was overdubbed.
I'm pretty sure he did.
But the
Jabba no bada Izayato.
He says he speaks English sometimes too.
Yeah, that mixture. So
it's Huttlish, I guess, is the combo when you're mixing it up. He speaks Huttlish because he'll say, "Yo, Jabba no dada, he's no Jedi."
Yeah.
Why'd you shift gears there, Bib? What's up? He's speaking Huttlish.
Hutless. I like that. I like that hybrid. But I do every time I go back and watch Jedi, I love Michael Carter. I love that voice. So not to take anything away from Matt, it's not obvious to me that Matt's trying to do an impression. I think he's kind of doing his own spin on Bib. It's a little, more serpentine maybe.
Yeah.
But anyway, still fun to see that character. One of my favorite vintage action figures too, back in the day.
That was one of the first that I actually saw from Return of the Jedi back in '83. Bib Fortuna was one of the first new characters I set my eyes on. And I immediately was taken by the extreme exotic quality of him. And I liked how he wrapped his head tails around his neck,
Yeah.
Because the other ones just sort of let him flop there.
Yeah.
Or maybe they might have one in front and one in back, but he does the whole wrap around like it's a scarf.
Yeah.
I think, I think that's that should have caught on a little bit more than it did.
You don't see that much with other Twi'leks.
No.
Occasionally maybe, but not. Yeah, that's not the going style for sure. Hey, we mentioned Tyler Page, our inimitable screen caller and official program observer. Just want to flash Tyler here on the screen. I know he's hard at work. Screening calls probably, or will be very shortly. Tyler, are you screening calls now, or you look very busy?
Yeah, I'm super busy right now. I will start screening calls.
That's the right answer. Whenever anyone asks you if you're busy, always say yes.
Well, we always appreciate when you're here, and you've been so great being here for all of these. It makes life much easier knowing you're at the controls there. So please give Tyler an idea of what you want to talk about when you do call in. And we'll get you in the queue to call. We are unashamedly going to give preference to Patreon members. So identify yourself as such. It's the honor system, of course. But we appreciate it, and we'll make every effort to get you on the air with us to talk about this episode. Let's do it. The tail of the tape here. We are talking, of course, about The Bad Batch, Season 1. And episode 5, original air date, May 28th, 2021, 26-minute runtime, and directed by Stuart Lee, written by Tamara Becker Wilkinson. Follows up the last episode, Cornered. So, there was something formulaic about the episode, not going to lie, but that's part and parcel, I think, of episodic television, and particularly one that perhaps needs to have a certain layer of predictability for the audience, a younger audience, but it certainly didn't leave out, the older fan, because again, from the Rancor stuff, which ties into the original trilogy, to seeing Bib Fortuna and Gamorrean guards, and setting up really, I think, a trajectory for the series. Jim, I can't help but think that, I don't know if I want to call what Sid said to Hunter at the end a threat, but there was something like, she kind of assumed that they were going to be doing more jobs for her, and he was kind of like, well, yeah, I don't know, we'll see. And she's like, well, having someone like Fennec Shand after you tells me that you're very valuable, blah, blah, blah. So I'm pretty good at keeping secrets. I took it as sort of a veiled threat. I don't know how you felt about that.
Well, yeah. She now has them on retainer.
Right.
You see, she was impressed by their work. Obviously, she sees it firsthand. She saw that they were able to rescue the baby Rancor. Spoiler alert.
Hey, there are no spoilers on the Bad Batch after show. There can't be.
We assume everyone watching or listening has already seen the episode. But she saw their handiwork and was pretty impressed. And she has dirt on them. Mm-hmm. And that dirt is valuable if they're sending out such a bounty hunter like Fennec Shand, who has made her reputation well known very early on. So her mere involvement then just indicates to Sid, by the way, voiced by Rhea Perlman.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers.
Carla.
Remember? Yeah. Carla from Cheers.
Former Mrs. Danny DeVito.
Yeah, former. Unfortunately, I was hoping they were still together because her inclusion in Star Wars then just gets us one step closer to my dream of having Danny DeVito appear in Star Wars somehow, some way. It's got to happen sooner or later.
You know, he could have played that. Who was the Nine Numb character, the short kind of balding George Costanza looking one that was running the port in the last episode. He would have been perfect for that.
It would have been good for that guy, right? Yeah. Put a Danny DeVito there. But I'd rather see Danny DeVito in live action Star Wars. I think that'd be a hoot. Like, cast him as Grand Admiral Thrawn. Mix it up a little. No, I'm kidding.
He could be the Salamiri hanging out on the back on the shoulders of Grand Admiral Thrawn. Wouldn't that be great if it was Danny DeVito's face?
You raise an interesting idea. I mean, when we finally do see Thrawn in live action, which we know is coming because it's been foreshadowed by Ahsoka, will he have the Salamiri hanging around his neck?
You said it so exotically that.
Yeah.
Like you're really
exotic.
Yeah, Salamiri.
But it would be fun to see that little nod to the Timothy Zahn Heir to the Empire novels. But we're not here to talk about old EU. We're here to talk about new Bad Batch episodes. And I did love Sid a lot. And I definitely think, yes, she now has an unofficial retainer on the services of the Bad Batch because she knows too much. So either they're going to continue to work for her or they're going to just kill her. But the Bad Batch, they have morals, they have a code of ethics, and they aren't gangsters. Right. So obviously Sid will survive and continue to have the Bad Batch run errands for her, if you will. Yeah.
I feel like it would be nice to check back in with the baddies. Again, I feel like it's been a little while since we saw what they were doing and their pursuit of the Bad Batch. Yeah. Now we had Fennec Shand in the last episode, but it never connected back up to either the Imperials or the Kaminoans, as we were speculating. I did think one line that Sid had. Oh, by the way, the number to call 708-866-1737. We have it on the screen. 708-866-1RFR. Please give us a call. Tyler is screening for us, and we'll pop you on and we'll talk about this episode with you. Something she said, Jim. She said when they had the hologram rather of Fennec Shand, she goes, "I don't know who this is, but I know a bounty hunter when I see one." What's the tell? What's the tell about it was interesting.
Yeah, I really couldn't answer that because there's all sort of exotic, armored individuals walking around spaceports on every planet in the Star Wars universe, and they all look like bounty hunters to me. So maybe it's just the most popular profession in the Empire era of Star Wars, the Imperial era. Maybe just, everyone, they're all mercenaries working underground now because the Empire has issued chain codes and regulated commerce and things.
The only thing I can think of is maybe the tell could be that they don't look like, they don't armor themselves, they don't attire themselves within any one particular tradition. Now Boba Fett is different, but I feel like Boba Fett really stood out because there weren't a lot of Mandalorian, at least that's my impression, is that he stood out because there weren't a bunch of Mandalorians walking around. But maybe that's it. Maybe Fennec Shand is using a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And the fact that she doesn't quite fit any one particular theme or, culture, that maybe that's sort of a tell. Because I would imagine
it's just a level of firepower she was exhibiting too.
That could be too. Yeah. Right.
Maybe that's very uncommon in the Imperial era. Maybe the Empire has confiscated all personal weapons, and the only time you really see it is out on the frontier, like Tatooine, and places that we're mostly familiar with from watching, Star Wars films, etc.
Hey, we got the super chats are coming in, so thank you. I'm going to jump to this one from Mr. Cardona. He says, no crosshair in the show equals the good patch, which is kind of funny. To be honest, we haven't seen him. To me, I felt like we haven't seen him in such a long time. I forgot his name.
Crosshair.
They did reference him because Omega got the comm device that would have been his. So.
And I enjoyed watching her play around with it. It reminded me of that episode of The Office where Jim is like, yeah, the guy from the phone company came in, showed Michael Scott how to use the office intercom system, and then he just left. And then Michael Scott's in there playing with it. Jim, help it. Your mama's on the phone. And, playing, just bothering the whole office until Jim goes and he snips the cord. But I thought that was, when she first started playing with it, I'm like, okay, they're going to run this into the ground. Her saying wacky stuff over the intercom and everything, or I should say the comm link. Her saying wacky stuff over it. But really, they didn't. They showed great restraint with that. They didn't beat it into the ground like I was expecting them to. A couple times she used, I found Sid, she says.
Yeah.
But then when she's in real trouble, she tries to reach them and it doesn't work. What I thought when I was watching her at first, I thought Omega would really enjoy a holiday product that was available in the late 70s, early 80s from, I think, Ronco. As a matter of fact, I gave you a little video to sort of display what I was talking about.
Oh, okay. Let's see what this is.
These kids are having a fabulous time with Mr. Microphone, the cordless microphone that actually puts your voice on the radio.
Echo, what's your position? Over.
Broadcast over any FM car radio.
Hey, good looking, I'll be back. Pick you up later.
Copy that.
I got a Mr. Microphone and I love it.
It's not a toy.
Not a toy.
It's practical and great fun for the whole family.
He has a point.
The perfect gift at Walgreens, Woolworth, Woolco, Osco, Venture, Webolts, Montgomery Ward.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
Oh, she would have loved it. She'd have been a natural.
Little Omega had her own Mr. Microphone. She could tune herself into FM radio and carry on.
I mean, many a kid grew up to actually be on the radio by playing with those. I've heard a lot of DJs talk about how that was a pretty big moment for them when they got that toy.
It was, if they could get it to work.
Yeah, right.
But, Ronco did not deliver to Camino. So poor little Omega was left out.
Well, you bring up a good point, and it's something that we've talked a little bit about before, which is that they are. I feel that they're being very careful with Omega. They don't want her to become precocious or annoying or anything. I found those two moments with the comm device endearing, and I even chuckled out loud at one of them. So I think they're doing such a really good job. I really believe that with this character. Tells me that she's there for more than just to be the cute kid in the show. Mm-hmm. Now they may have been maybe that was a marketing consideration or something with the show, but they're certainly handling it very well, I would say.
Right. The annoying kid factor hasn't really come into play, and I think that's a real testament to the character of Omega. She's very likable, and you find yourself rooting for her. And then she proves herself to be quite capable when she unleashes the baby Rancor on that Zygerian encampment.
Yeah.
And the thing just wreaks havoc. She knew exactly what she was doing. And she also has displayed remarkable insight, and a real nature to be observant. She identified Sid immediately.
Well, yeah,
the other two didn't. Yeah,
I wanted to mention that. Do you feel that is proof of something?
Oh, the force ability that could be inherent in her.
That
anything's possible.
Yeah, I still am not convinced about the force ability.
Yeah, me either.
But certainly she has great intuition. And I think that's something that they're trying to establish with that character.
Yeah. Oh, This guy in the chat, Dat Hill, says, if Omega is force sensitive, will we see Vader hunt her down? Oh, wow.
Well, wow, Vader v. Omega.
Well, she's not a Jedi.
Right.
Order 66 is the extermination of the Jedi. Omega, maybe Vader would hunt her down to take her captive and twist her toward the dark side of the Force. That's possible. That's quite possible. Remember, Palpatine had those children of the Force hidden on Mustafar. And that hasn't really been expanded upon. That was something we saw in the Clone Wars.
Right.
Going way back in the Clone Wars, we saw that. And then I think we got little hints of it in Rebels as well. But I don't think that storyline really went anywhere.
No, it didn't. And I thought it was one of the best that they did in the Clone Wars. I loved it. It was creepy. It explained a lot. But you're right, Jim. They seem to have backed off of it. One thing, and I always, folks, a lot of times I feel like I put Jim on the spot. I don't have the ability to recall what this guy does. It's uncanny. But I wondered if you would just give us just a quick, what do you recall from the Jedi sort of stopping the Zagirian slave trade in the Clone Wars? I remember at one point Anakin got mixed up in it. Didn't he? Wasn't he?
And Ahsoka went undercover.
Yes.
As a slave herself.
Right.
It was a season 5 story arc based on a Dark Horse comic. And it wasn't one that really stood out to me, I'll admit. And one I probably haven't revisited very often. So, despite your big setup, I'm not going to pay off with any kind of recollection of what really happened in that event, in the series of events. Obviously, the Zygerian slavers were defeated. And that's as far as my
right.
recall goes.
And
I found that whole story arc to be not exactly one of my favorites in the Clone Wars run. I found it to be rather unforgettable. Forgettable.
I remember feeling that way too. Though we talked, I remember at the time that anytime slavery entered into Star Wars, it sort of set up what we had heard about, as the original films were coming out, and there was, some tie-in material that we knew that the Empire used slavery to create things like the Death Star, and that was something they weren't above. So we see now the Zygerians saying, hey, we've got a new era with this Empire. We can seize our moment and bring back, our trade, because it seemed as though that was a species that sort of was their, it sounds terrible, but that was like their thing. That was what they were known for. They were slave traders. So I do like that they're, kind of going back and connecting that. Something that didn't pay off, we're going to get to your calls here in just a second, but something that didn't pay off that I really thought was going to, is I thought this was going to be the opportunity to connect Fennec Shand with Bib Fortuna, which would have then sort of given us the setup for the Book of Boba Fett, and why she was, perhaps give us an explanation as why she's with Boba and they go in and take out Bib. Just a thought.
Yeah. And we could end up seeing some of those seeds getting planted as the season moves along, knowing that both Bib and Fennec are existing within the same stomping grounds, right? So it's I think it's very possible that we'll see that. I think it's very possible we'll see Boba Fett show up some point here in the Bad Batch season 1. Bring it all together. And let us look at that moment when Boba and Fennec walk into Jabba's palace, and that'll give us a little that scene when they shoot Bib a little more impact. But I predict that the Book of Boba Fett will feature 2 storylines, one set in the past to get us caught up to the moment where Boba shoots Bib, and then what happens as a result of Boba shooting Bib. I think we're going to get concurrent storylines going on set in two different time periods.
Yeah,
and
that
I
makes
think
sense.
we'll learn how Boba escaped the Sarlacc and all of that. And so I think it'll jump around a little bit. And
despite
because nonlinear storytelling is Star Wars.
that is the way.
Yeah, that
That is the way. Despite there being references to the Jedi knowing Sid and using Sid as an informant or as a source, to my knowledge, Sid is a brand new character created for this series. She did not appear, but they're still kind of laying that track to connect why the Bad Batch would have known perhaps of her. Something else that surprised me, I was really expecting it, especially as soon as I found out that Muchi was a Rancor. No Malakili showing up with Bib there and the Gamorrean guards at the end again. I would have loved to have seen a Malakili animated. What? For some of you, that's the Rancor Keeper, but I thought that would have been a cool touch. But hey, let's get to the calls here. We've got switchboard open. There's still a couple of slots, so please, 708-866-1737. Let's start off with Gar from Utah. Gar, you're on with Rebel Force Radio and the Bad Batch After Show. Hello, hello. And I will unmute. Hello, Gar.
Hello. Hey, how you guys doing?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for calling.
Hey, great. Hey, I'm a little behind on the listening to you. I can't hear it through the phone, so I don't know if you guys have talked about this yet. But have you talked about Omega's new weapon?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, the crossbow or the bow and arrow, which, by the way, is screaming to be an accessory for an action figure. As soon as I saw that, I can say, I can see that snapping on the arm of the action figure.
Of course.
But do you think that that's going to be a thing? Like that's her thing now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, she didn't use it in this episode, so it just seemed like, that was just setting up for that's her thing now. Yeah.
There's a shot of her using it in one of the trailers, preseason trailers.
Oh.
And when I saw her using it, I thought it was Night Sister tech. So I thought that Omega might have Night Sister ties. But no, it's Zygerian. It's a Zygerian laser bow or something like that. And so, she snags it. And the thing pops open and she is startled by it. I kind of jumped back a little too when that happened. But she's definitely going to be using it. That's going to be her sidearm as the stories unfold. And we already know she's proficient with using a blaster despite having no real experience.
Yeah.
So I think she'll pick up her skills with this, and it'll be cool to see her not having to hide or be so reliant on the Bad Batch when the heat gets hot in the kitchen.
Yeah, I think that's cool to give her a signature weapon. I think that's a neat idea.
Did you pick up on her musical theme?
No, I didn't pick up. So there's a little musical motive there for her, and no. Well, but there were music moments in this episode that jumped out to me. I was hearing things that were very reminiscent of the music from Attack of the Clones. Specifically in those sequences when Dooku is plotting with the Separatists, or there's it's a recurring theme. It's real, just downer sort of underscore, and I thought Kiner was showing some influences from that soundtrack.
Yeah, if you listen to the end credits, it doesn't go into the Star Wars main theme like Clone Wars did. It goes into the Bad Batch theme, which we heard in the, originally in the Bad Batch episodes of the Clone Wars. Like it goes dun 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 dun, and then it goes into what I think is Omega's theme, and it's like. Anyways, I really like her.
That's awesome, dude. Cool. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much for that.
I wonder if YouTube is going to nail us for that music.
Oh, no.
His whistling was so dead on and accurate, pitch perfect, that the algorithms are going to slap us down.
All right, I got to say something here once and for all, because this is driving me crazy. Every week I hear it.
Is it my fly? Oh, sorry.
No, that was last week's annoyance.
Oh,
Every week, if I call the character Omega, I get someone saying, Swank's saying the name wrong. It's Omega. And so I have adopted, and I have to think about it before I say it, adopted the pronunciation Omega, which is, okay. And now I'm seeing people saying, RFR gets it wrong every time. It's not Omega, it's Omega with 2 E's. Here's my take on it. It's the accent. They're like, well, Omega calls herself Omega, so that must be what it is. And it's like, not necessarily. That's not how names always work, because if there is an accent involved, you're not necessarily going to use that. You're going to Americanize it if you're, American or speak English or something like that. So that's my take on it. I don't think I think it goes both. I think it's a Han thing, really.
Well, I always hear the commercial for supplements, omega fatty acids, things like that.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm very familiar with the Greek omega, and so it's strictly her accent.
Right.
You picked up on it early, and even in my own house, Dylan asked me. He said, "Hey, what's up with Swank and that omega? Has he never even seen that word before?" And I said, "I don't know. I think that maybe that's the way." Like maybe he watches the show with his daughter and she pronounces it that way, so they just roll with it. I don't know. It's a mystery to me.
Yeah.
But it's Star Wars, and we're talking about proper names in Star Wars, and we've heard all kind of different pronunciations for everything. I know they've said Omega in the show. The characters have said Omega, and they've said Omega.
Mm-hmm.
So either one,
even they don't know.
Perfectly acceptable. Even one is perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
I think her name is Omega, and it's just with that accent. She says Omega. That's her accent kicking in.
Yep.
And you hear it, her accent stronger on some words than others, especially when she says you or two. She'll say yeah or yeah.
Yo.
But that's just her
Puts
accent.
that, she rolls that R at the end. Yo. Yeah. But anyway, I love it. I love the way she says it. And the other thing
a nice
is that
accent.
I think I mentioned this before, when Daniel Craig talks about his as James Bond, his watch, she says Rolex, he says Omega, which is Omega, which is the watch brand. So anyway, hey, we got a Patreon.
I'm glad we cleared this up. That's good.
Right. Yeah, so stop.
Thank
We're
God.
aware in the chat, okay? In the chat, we're aware. All right. Patreon, Dale. Hello, Dale. You're on with Rebel Force Radio and the Bad Batch After Show.
Hey, Chut and howdy from Denver.
Chut.
Hey.
I did get to watch the episode in time for the after show this week. Normally, I don't get to. I watch it later Fridays with wife and kids, but they're out of town, so I watched it with.
Ooh, party time!
I'm caught up. Yeah. So my call is actually about some of the money talk from earlier in the season. So it doesn't seem like there's anything specific in the new canon that refers to clones getting like healthcare benefits or retirement, because they're not really considered citizens; they're more like property. But they have to get some kind of stipend because they go on leave and they buy things like tattoos. They go to the clone bar that we see in Coruscant, and then when Echo got knocked out in that lunchroom fight, they were placing bets on who's going to wake up and whatnot. So they've got money.
Okay. When the Zygerians showed up in this episode, and I was flashing back to the slavery issue cropping up in the Clone Wars, I remember having those discussions, and we were talking about how, well, here are the Jedi taking this very hard stance against slavery, as rightly they should, but then at the same time, aren't the clones sort of quasi-slaves? And so we picked up on that, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Bad Batchers, particularly Hunter, seems really hell-bent on rescuing these people, and they certainly have a real bite when they talk about slavery, as almost they can relate.
I found it really curious that when exposed to this knowledge that there's slavery going on in the universe and people are being bought and sold, Omega was shocked to hear this. She said, wait, people could be bought and sold? The concept seemed foreign to her and shocking. And, well, I mean, it should shock anyone, of course. But Omega her only existence she knew of was growing up on Camino, where not only are people bought and sold, but they are bred specifically for that reason. The clone army was purchased by the New Republic, or the Old Republic, one of those republics, and by the Republic.
Yes.
And there you have it. I mean, Omega's only existence was with these very people who were bred to be sold.
Well, and it was
still seemed so shocked by
right.
the idea.
But isn't that interesting?
By the reality of it.
But the fact that she grew, was born and raised and grew up there, it was all normal to her. It was so normalized. She, the last thing you notice, right, is oxygen. As a human being, right? I mean, so you don't notice those things; they're just happening around you and just part of everyday life. But yes, it was a revelation of a pretty interesting blind spot that she has,
for sure.
Despite being so intuitive,
I just thought it was interesting.
I did too,
to note her reaction in that situation.
Dale, I want to go back to your comment about who gets paid and who doesn't, and I just want to make sure I understand. So, is your claim that you believe that the clones were paid, they got stipends, as well as the storm? Because we know the stormtroopers do, because they were talking about enlisting, because that's the opportunity to get a roof over their head and food and all that. Rations. Still with us, Dale? Yeah. Okay.
If they don't, they have to say somehow, bill it to the Republic when they're getting tattoos or going to the clone bar.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And that's probably how that stuff happens too.
Well, I remember as a student at Ohio State, and I had a dorm room with all the basketball and football players, and these guys would the bus would roll up in front of the dorm, and these guys would all get off the bus with just bags and bags from the malls and everything, and it was like someone's paying them something, because I didn't see that happening with the non-athlete types. Just gonna put that out there. So the point is, they were probably taken care of, whether it was above board or below board. They were probably taken care of.
We got Netflix.
Hey, Dale, thanks. And thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter. We do appreciate that very, very much. Let's see let's do a few super chats here. We certainly don't want to forget those. Jamie Johnson, thank you so much. Chut, what thoughts on the parallels between Sweet, Sweet Baby Yoda and Omega? Both are adopted and change their guardians. Jim, you're a huge fan and lover of all things Sweet Baby Yoda. What do you think about the parallels?
Well, they're there. I mean, people were noticing it after the first episode. It's a regular theme now in Star Wars, isn't it? The lone wolf and cub, and we know Dave Filoni loves that story.
Yes,
we know he loves it. I'll tell you, I think it was Meredith Salinger who told us, because she was in the film version. And she told us that Filoni really has talked her ear off about her experience in that film.
Mm-hmm.
But, hey, little guy, look who just came to join us. It's Baby Yoda. Sweet, sweet little Baby Yoda. A lot of people were complaining that we didn't get enough time with Moochie. We knew his name right away. And maybe it would have been fun to have a baby Rancor thing going on in Star Wars. It'd be like the baby shark. But no, Moochie is baby Rancor and baby Yoda is Grogu. And Omega is Omega or Omega. But she doesn't have the helplessness that Baby Yoda appears to have. You know, Omega definitely shows herself capable immediately. Baby Yoda had to grow into that a little bit. And, I mean, Baby Yoda is formidable, but he still is an infant. So there's only so much he can do.
It all seems to be instinctual with him.
Right.
As opposed to...
And he can only really display his force abilities when the you-know-what is hitting the fan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what you're right on when you say it's instinctual. Whereas Omega is a little more fleshed out and a little more capable and someone who could take care of herself a little bit better. But, yeah, definite parallels. You have guys thrust into the fathership, the fatherhood position just immediately. And they're both ill-equipped for it at first. But there's something instinctual there that kicks in, too. Right, Baby Yoda? Right.
Hey, Charlie is saying, hey, guys, thanks for doing this at a reasonable UK time for once, sending my love for the baby Rancor. Charlie, we hear you, and this won't be the last time we do one of these shows on a Saturday in the afternoon. There's going to be times when the Friday night slot doesn't work for one or both of us, so totally get it, totally understand. Glad you're here. Appreciate it very much, and thanks for the super chat. What happened?
In the book Aftermath, it was revealed the name of the Rancor Luke killed in Jabba's palace was Patissa. Patissa. That's what they're saying in the chat.
Yeah, and Moochie is short for Patissa.
No. Patissa. I seem to remember Patissa being a word they used in the Star Wars Legacy comic books. But yes, something is definitely ringing a bell here with me. And Patissa. Jabba, according to Wikipedia, and this is canon, Patissa, which is Huttese for friend. Huttese for friend. Patissa was a male rancor owned by the Hutt crime lord Jabba after Bib gave it to him as a birthday gift. So they could be rewriting. The name is Chuck Wendig canon. So they'll definitely be coming at that one with the erasers, and they'll probably. Change
I was just
going to
say, and how base and silly, in my opinion, for Chuck Wendig to take the Huttese word friend and name the Rancor that. Just because you hear Jabba say Patissa at one point in Jedi, I think you do. It's just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man. We expect better. Well, I don't from that guy. All right, here. Oh, shoot. Darn it. I just lost one of the super chats here. I want to make sure that I get it. I unfavorited it.
Come on, Patissa.
Yeah, Patissa. Here's another one from Mr. Cardona. Thank you. Just tuning in Saturday afternoon after show. Appreciate it. Glad you're here, and thanks for that super chat. Very much appreciated. And here is Scott, sunny Scotland. From Scott, sunny Scotland. Chut, guys. Great to be listening live tonight and being able to contribute. Wouldn't mind this being the new norm. Thanks for all the great work. Thank you. And as I said, it won't be the last time. Can't promise it every week, obviously, but it won't be the last time. Nick, I think Boba Fett hired Fennec to find Omega, because it's going to happen, folks, because he wants someone he relates to, because Bosk isn't that fun to have a drink with. Oh, all right. So, yeah, that could be, that matters. You need someone who's a good hang, like Jim, you were saying last week.
Yeah, you got to be a good hang. Or maybe there was a love connection between Boba and Fennec. Could be.
We
don't know.
One more here. Oh, man. Really appreciate that. Love the appearance of Bib Fortuna with Crosshair was seen in Chapter 5. Do you guys think Din Djarin will be seen in at least one frame of the Bad Batch?
Wow. For all the things I've been wanting to tie in from The Mandalorian to the Bad Batch, I thought for sure Baby Yoda was going to be in the Bad Batch. I thought that was the young, precious individual that the Bad Batch had, because I had heard that before the season started. And I immediately jumped to the conclusion that was Baby Yoda. But then I started getting mixed signals about that. So I got the internet all excited for nothing. But, you know, I told you after I said that it was becoming more and more unlikely. And then when the trailer dropped, I'm like, oh, that's not Baby Yoda. That's some kid. The kid is a red flag. The kid's going to be annoying.
Oh,
I haven't even thought about Baby Yoda since the Bad Batch began. So I don't think the series is missing Mandalorian tie-ins, but I'm loving all the tie-ins to the Clone Wars, to Ord Mantell. This is the planet that Han Solo had a run-in with a bounty hunter on.
That's right.
Could that bounty hunter have been Fennec Shan? I know over the years there have been bounty hunters named as the ones who approached Han on Ord Mantell, who he had the encounter with on Ord Mantell. I know Al Williamson told the story in the comic strips that he did. And
was there a storybook that came with a record?
There are two names that are popping in my head. I'm not 100% sure. But yes, I think you're right. There was an Ord Mantell kid book. Like it was a little kid book. I don't know if it came with a record. I think it did. I think it was an audio drama.
Right.
And I think the bounty hunter was either named Montrose or Score. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I'm pretty sure one of the two or both were attributed to being that bounty hunter over the years. I bet they know in the chat.
Yeah, probably.
I'm just talking until somebody can actually create an answer here for me. But you guys are slow. You guys are typing really slow today. And you're leaving me out here on a rope. So,
finally
either it was
here,
Montrose or Score.
Mike,
but it could be retconned to be Fennec Shan being the bounty hunter who Han Solo had the encounter with on Ord Mantell.
Super chat from Mike. He says the best thing about Bad Batch Mandalorian is I can just be a fan. The final movies, I felt I had to be a scholar to understand things. I totally appreciate that. You're not alone, Mike. As I've said many times, have good friends that consider themselves fans of Star Wars, not to the level of what we probably do here, but and they were clueless as to a lot of things that were really interesting plot points that were buried in visual guides, that they never were going to be exposed to. So good thoughts there. All right, back to the phones we go. How about, we have a call from Brazil. Let's take this one. Hello, Brazil.
Hey there.
Hello. Welcome to the Rebel Force Radio.
Thank you. Thank you so much. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing great. Much better since you called. How are things in Brazil? Or as the natives say, Brazil.
Natives? Would you be quiet?
Yeah. Oh.
Did I get the TH right?
No. What's your name?
No.
Yeah, not even close.
My name is Maia.
So what did you think about this episode of The Bad Batch?
Well, it was fun. It wasn't my favorite. I think episode 4 and 2 are top best so far. But there are two things about this episode that I think was missing. The first thing was about the mission was to find more information about the bounty hunter, so Fennec Shan. So I think I felt that we should get more than just her name, because I know the Bad Batch doesn't know her name, but us as our audience, I was expecting a little bit more. So I missed some of that. And the other thing was the record scene when he said he was feeling his head hurt. So it was the second time that happened. So I thought, well, okay, must be a scene that Hunter noticed that, and he's going to talk about tech. Keep an eye on record, or let's check about, because they already have a chip in their head. It might be not active, but when one of their batch is saying the second time, he didn't hit his head. He was just saying, "Oh, my head hurts." Okay, I need a scene with Hunter talking to Tech about the chip eventually. So that's only these two little complaints. but it was a fun episode. I really enjoyed it.
It was fun. And thank you so much for calling. You know, he hit his head. And then in the 2 follow-up episodes, he's complained about a headache or given indication that something's wrong upstairs. And so when he hit his head, do you think he triggered something in that inhibitor chip? Because I think a guy like Hunter hits his head, or not Hunter, Wrecker. I think Wrecker hits his head all the time. He seems like the type of guy who has hit his head 1,000 times. So you think he's pretty thick-skulled. But maybe the chip was damaged somehow when he hit it that one time. They're definitely setting something up.
I think so, too.
Jason?
Oh, I definitely think so. Let's check in with Jack from Kansas. First-time caller, Jack.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
All right. What's on your mind?
Well, got a question for you. Considering we've now seen Stinky the Hut and our sweet baby Yoda, and now Moochie the Rancor, next week are they going to go to Hoth and we'll see the Wampa as a cub? Or what other creatures are we going to see as baby version?
Tauntauns? Wampas?
A tauntaun fawn or something?
I never thought of it.
A Dianoga you could put in your pocket? Hey, is that a Dianoga in your pocket? Or are you...
I think they look like... what were those things that you got that the little sea creatures used to sprinkle in the water and use a magnifying glass to see them? What were those things? Anyone?
Oh, sea monkeys.
Sea monkeys, that's it. Yeah, that's what I think of. That's, I think, where the Dianogas come from. Man, I haven't thought of those in a long time. Sea monkeys.
I
can see Jason with his aquarium filled with sea monkeys. Hey, these aren't monkeys.
I was so disappointed. You know, I remember getting the magnifying glass, and it's like, it's not, they're not holding like tridents and like, anyway. What else?
So is this the first time we've seen Ord Mantell on screen? I know Han had mentioned it, obviously, famously in Empire. Yeah. And then it appeared early in the Star Wars comic from Marvel Comics back in 2015. I think the first arc, they were on Ord Mantell. So we've seen it in comics and such. And have we seen it on screen before?
I can't remember. I really can't. I just, the planet, we've seen so many planets over the last, over across Clone Wars and Rebels, and I can't keep it straight. I don't want to say one way or the other.
What are maybe some other planets that the Bad Batch could go to that we've heard about in passing conversation but never seen?
I would love to see.
One that comes to mind, having recently watched. Oh, go ahead, Jimmy.
Well, I'm just wondering if you're going to say the same thing I'm going to say. So I'll just say it, and you tell me if you were thinking the same planet. But I've always wanted to see Dantooine. Dantooine. Is that the one you were thinking of?
Yeah. That wasn't the one I was thinking of, but it was on the list.
Oh, okay. At least it's on the list.
On my short list.
Which one are you thinking of?
Well, I've just recently been watching Attack of the Clones, and I think about, I forget the name of the planet in that, the elevator conversation that Obi-Wan and Anakin have where he talks about, I rescued you, remember? When he fell into the garbage or something, Anakin had to jump
Nest
in
of Gundarks or something?
I don't think we've seen... Yeah.
Nest of something. Right. It wasn't Gundarks. No, it was Nest of something like that.
What planet was that? Oh, I don't remember. It's like an Argos Minor.
Jeff in the chat is saying Tanab. Can we see Tanab?
Tanab. Well, that's a good planet. That's where Billy D. Lando participated in a battle.
Right.
And that's a good one. I don't think that's where the Nest of Gundarks were. But I saved you from that Nest of Gundarks. But, no, hey, the planet Ord Mantell, through my quick research, it tells me that Ord Mantell was seen in those animated Forces of Destiny shorts. So... From a certain point of view, we've seen it before, but the animation in those things, they were just little shorts made to sell those little dollies. And it was not really any kind of expansive animation like we're used to seeing in the Bad Batch. It was just 2D, nothing really special about it. But for just to be accurate, it has been seen in an animated form before.
He guy in the chat says, "How about Cato Nemoidia?" I don't think we've seen Cato Nemoidia.
Well, we did see it briefly in Revenge of the Sith. That's the bridge planet where you see, I believe it's Plo Koon gets shot down. He's flying over the bridge planet.
Yes,
and
that's
Cato
right.
Nemoidia.
Yes.
Sullust. That's where we know the fleet gathered. The rebel fleet gathered near Sullust, and we also know Nine Numb is a Sullust resident.
It's a great question, Jack. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. We've got, let's see, a few more we can get to. How about Nick?
My son Dylan thought this was the best episode of them all so far. And I asked him if he wanted to come down and expand on that, but he is not around right now. So,
well, Nick from New York is. Oh, Nick.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
All right. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's always great to check you guys out. I'm glad you're on a Saturday. Makes it easy to watch the episode and then call in.
Excellent. So what's on your mind?
So what I was wondering is, in like a bigger picture of the series, is since we got a little taste of Saw Gerrera earlier on in the season, and we haven't gotten any Darth Vader yet, it would be pretty awesome if in this series we can see the showdown between Vader and Saw Gerrera.
Yes, I agree. This was something that was rumored to be in Rogue One, actually, and we don't know what was shot or what wasn't shot, but we do know a lot of scenes with Forrest Whitaker portraying the bald Saw Gerrera were shot. And I'm assuming that if they attempted to add a Vader showdown with Saw, which could have appeared earlier in Rogue One, that would have been shot with the bald Saw. And that's how, according to legend, that's how he acquired his cybernetic limbs and his breathing apparatus. All of that was a result of him barely surviving a showdown with Vader. Now, that's good storytelling right there. And that's something we got to see. We know the Empire has prioritized Saw Gerrera because Tarkin sent the Bad Batch out to wipe out the camp, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, and keep eluding them, apparently. He keeps, he's, staying into the shadows and, doing his guerrilla thing quite well. He's been at it for a couple of years now. I mean, he's been at it since the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you hit something, Jim, that's interesting. We have to we know that if he does have a showdown with Vader, that he survives it. So, I mean, that's going to add some serious credibility seeing that play out on screen for that character. I mean, there's not many people that go up against Vader and tell the tale.
Right. But he's going to find himself with cybernetic parts aplenty as a result.
And that breathing thing, I love that.
He becomes Vader himself, He needs an apparatus to help him breathe.
And given that this is right in between episode 3 and Rogue One, it's pretty fertile ground for that to take place, that showdown.
For sure.
Maybe, like the Bad Batch could encounter Vader and Saw can come to the rescue, but not really, something like that. I think it would be pretty awesome to see that. I think it would be a really good moment for that. Also, I wanted to thank you guys for taking the voicemail about Count Dooku that I left you guys.
That was a good one. That was great.
Oh, man. That voicemail is giving me homework now. Yeah, that voicemail is giving me a lot of homework. And something I'm glad you called, because I need to recommend you listen to the Count Dooku audiobook called Lost Jedi. I'm about halfway through it. after our show aired, people started telling me, hey, you want to fill in the blanks about Count Dooku, the early years? You got to listen to this audiobook. It's only a 6-hour long thing. And so I got it from audible.com, and I've been listening to it this weekend. And it's yet to really fill in any blanks, quite honestly. But there is information about Sifo Dyas in there. Sifo Dyas, the early years with Count Dooku. It's it's sitcom worthy.
Playing the blues.
Yeah, playing the blues with Dooku, the Dooku blues.
Yeah.
So, but that's what I'm going to be listening to. I'll have a full review of it next week on the show.
Oh, that's awesome. I would really appreciate that. Yeah, I love the idea, because I was watching the Lost missions, and Yoda encounters him on the Jedi Temple, in that vision that he has, and, he's still a Jedi because Qui-Gon's there, and I thought to myself, like, man, it would be so awesome to see where that goes, or where that came from. But if they really explore that in something, I'll definitely want to check that out, because I love Dooku. I think he's great.
Yeah. He's a character that is, as time goes on, I get more interested in, and I enjoy those moments with him in the prequels more and more. Very much so. Hey, Nick, thanks so much. Appreciate it. And let's see. How about Tommy? Tommy from Pennsylvania.
Hello.
Tommy.
Hi.
Hi. Chut, bud.
Hey, Tommy.
I just want to say I've been listening to you guys ever since I was a big Star Wars fan.
Great.
And that was like 2 years ago.
Oh, you go back that far?
Yeah. But I've always enjoyed watching Star Wars.
Good.
So I want to talk about the theory of Omega being force sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't think she is, because that time where she went up to Sid and said that she was Sid, she was looking at a computer right before that. Like, she was pushing buttons on a computer. So maybe that was like Sid's computer, and she was like checking the account.
She logged into Sid's email account. That's exactly. Pretty perceptive. Good for you for figuring that out. That could be something that tipped off Omega, and maybe we're giving her more credit than she deserves. She's a little snoop, is what it is.
Well, as Jedi Master Yoda said, truly wonderful the mind of a child is. So maybe it takes one to understand one. So that's pretty cool. What else did you want to say, Tommy?
Yeah. When she was talking to Crosshair about she knew what he was going to do, I think she knew that because she mentioned in Cut and Run the inhibitor chip, and she clearly knows what it is. So she probably heard Crosshair talking about how they betrayed orders, and she knew it was the inhibitor chip. So yeah.
It's good speculation.
Yeah, no, I think it's real good. Tommy, please keep watching, and please keep listening, and give us a call again. We'd love to hear from you as you put more pieces of the puzzle together. I like that. Like your take. Just a couple of additional calls here. Let's see. Yeah, we're doing okay. So if you still haven't gotten on, you can call 708-866-1737. Put Tyler to work here. Let's see.
Our little Patisa.
Yeah, Batista.
Little Batista, Tyler.
All right, let's see. We've got David from Minnesota. Hello, David. You're on with Rebel Force Radio.
All right, who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
Nice. Well played. I can't understand you with all the apparatus.
Hey, Chet. I'm a little upset because Tommy beat me to it by about 3 seconds. And I was going to be talking about how I do think that Omega is force sensitive, but then he pointed out some really good points to me, and now I'm starting to think that maybe Tommy is force sensitive.
Yeah.
So I actually, maybe that has to do with, perception, and, he's been listening for 2 years. I just started listening back on at the beginning of the show for the Bad Batch after show, and really, I guess if my point kind of just went out the window with Tommy swiping it out from underneath me there. So I figured might as well just say that it's hard to find some people that, really want to just chat about like a 23-minute Bad Batch episode. Hey, did you see the thing? And everybody, no, I didn't. I'm busy. I have a life. Stop texting me. But it feels like a warm and welcoming family to get to, listen to you guys and get to nerd out about all the super in-depth stuff. I'm just about to start reading some of the canon books here pretty soon. So to hear you guys mention the Dooku book, I'm planning on getting into that pretty soon. So I guess that kind of went out my I still think Omega's maybe Force sensitive. She does have, the Palpatine hair. All other clones, they've got black hair. She's kind of the only one that doesn't. So I'm thinking maybe she's still got the New Zealand accent, still Tim Morrison, but maybe a little bit of mad scientist Beaker stuff going on in the back rooms. They were mixing and matching. And also I had a friend tell me, this is, last point here before I'll keep the negotiation short. But my friend told me after the first episode where Omega goes off on her own to try and get that part back for the ship, and Wrecker says his head hurt, and I thought, oh, that's the inhibitor chip. And my friend told me, nah, he just banged his head. You didn't pay close enough attention. And I believed him, and I went, oh, okay, I must not have been paying attention. His head is still hurting, and it wasn't after a big bang. I think there's something up there.
Yeah. There is, and I admit I wasn't paying attention to it. I was ignoring it, and I was seeing it show up in the chat, and I'm just like, I don't know. I think they're seeing ghosts here. But after this last one where they really make it blatant, he's just sitting there, so I figure they gave enough screen time to it that there's something there. David, thank you so much. Great call. Please call again. Really appreciate it.
I wouldn't look at her accent as any sort of connection to her genetics as far as the other clones are concerned. Because I think anyone who have spent time on Kamino would have walked out of their New Zealand accent because everyone was speaking that way, especially a kid who grew up there and didn't know any other life.
Well, the Kaminoans don't.
Accents aren't necessarily genetically passed down, is what I'm saying.
Yes, that's a real good point. Yes. Yeah, slam dunk right there. Yes, because the Kaminoans don't have a New Zealand accent, and you're absolutely right. You take a baby that's never heard its native language and you plop it into an English speaking or vice versa, whatever. You're right. They're gonna mimic what they hear.
Right.
But no, seriously, great call. Josh from PA. Hello, Josh.
This is where the fun begins.
Josh is here, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready to have some fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. That's. I just thought I'd quote Anakin. I so wish that I could have said what the previous caller said. Should you chat first or should I chat first? I can't believe I didn't think of that one.
That was a good one. That was like maybe one of the best beginnings to a call we've ever had. That was very clever.
Yeah. But yeah, I did watch the new Bad Batch episode. It's called Rampage, right? I think it's called Rampage.
Yep. Like the video game. I was thinking that might have been where they got the title. But though there was no flying creature in the original Rampage video game. It was like a King Kong. It was like a dinosaur and then a werewolf type thing. But nonetheless, I think that might have been what they were
Baby
going for.
Rancor plays your King Kong in this situation.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, I did watch the new episode of the Bad Batch, and I enjoyed it. It was a solid adventure story for an episode. I want to talk about Sid because there's a whole lot of theories going on with Sid as a character. Like people it's led to believe that like she's helping the Bad Batch and she's going to help them with bounties and all that. But I don't see it that way. I think Sid is actually might be working for the Empire, somebody that's not on the side of the Batch. I don't know. It's just the way she comes off. It's very sinister to me. And I just
you don't trust her.
Yeah, I really don't trust her, and especially like when she says, "Don't worry, I'm good with secrets." At the very end of the episode, like,
right?
The way she just said it came off as sarcastic.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of a threat. I mean, here's my take on her. I think that she lives the life of a mercenary, and she was quick to point out that, guess what, Bad Batchers, that's what you are now too. And I don't think she's loyal thoroughly to anyone but herself and opportunities that she sees in the future for herself. Nothing tipped me off. Not that it's not possible, certainly is, that she's working for the Empire, and maybe she will. You know, if they come and give her a better offer, she probably would do that.
She did appear to show a certain amount of disdain toward the Empire, saying just their mere existence has really hurt her business. And also keep in mind, she was tight with the Jedi and didn't display any sort of regret for being connected to them, despite the fact that Palpatine has publicly smeared them and ordered their extinction because they tried to overthrow the government. The Jedi are not looked at upon fondly by people of this era.
Right.
And at the same time, their history is being erased from existence by the oppressive Empire. So people who did show any sort of sympathies toward the Jedi, those people, their voices get quieted and they get muted. They mysteriously disappear in the middle of the night.
Yeah, well, we do know, though, keep in mind that she was an informant or a source for the Jedi.
Yeah, so she's working on the down low.
Right, exactly.
So nobody they can't really make that connection to her. Much like Dexter Jetster was a source of information for Obi-Wan. We're seeing a similar thing happen here. And the Jedi had the connection to the Force where it probably gave them a little bit of insight into whether or not their informants are being straight up with them and what their potential for crossing them actually is. And I wouldn't assume the Jedi working with someone who was nefarious, underhanded, morally corrupt, things of that nature. I mean, Sid just works off the grid. She works in the underground. She does mention something about, does she use the word mercenary?
She does.
Use that?
Yeah. She does.
So, I mean, she obviously is involved in that type of work, whether she's not a field operative necessarily, but we don't know. Maybe she is, or maybe has had a past as some sort of underworld mobster or bounty hunter herself. You know, she's a little older, it appears, and needs to hire the Bad Batch to do the dirty work for her. But I really think that she's trustworthy to a degree. I don't think she is connected to the Empire at all. I think she's someone who is the exact opposite of a person who works for the Empire. But then again, if she has to make her bones and keep the lights on,
right,
whoever the highest bidder is in a lot of these situations will be the one who gains the loyalty. So,
all right, last call.
Long, you know, I'm blowing a lot of hot air right now, but I just want to say, long story short, I do not believe she's connected to the Empire, nor do I think she's going to turn the Bad Batch into the Empire. Now, would she turn the Bad Batch over to another bounty hunter? Yes, I think that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat reminding us that Ord Mantell is the, I guess, the homeworld or the base planet for the Black Sun crime syndicate. And we do see a couple of Phalines in the episode.
We do.
So, in fact, who they originally thought was Moochie, the little Phaline girl. And for those of you who are, some of you are newer and may not have all the canon memorized, like some in the chat, and some that email us, the Phalines are in the Black Sun syndicate, known for producing Shizor from the Shadows of the Empire. Multimedia event. You can't even call it just a novel. It's a multimedia event. But Tyler from New Jersey is on the line. Thank you, Tyler, for waiting. Appreciate the patience. What's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing? First time caller. I just want to talk about the animation and all the assets that they've built. I mean, when I saw the finale for Clone Wars and I saw Vader and Stormtroopers in the Clone Wars style, I thought they got to be using this for something later on. Then 2 months later, Bad Batch got announced. And I'm just wondering, with these last 2 episodes, you have a new Pantora design, you have Ord Mantell finally designed. Now, what do you think they could do with a lot of this stuff down the line? I mean, I would love if they kind of went back and did Dark Disciple, Son of Dathomir, since both of those planets are in those stories. And I just think, why not use it? Why not do like an animated movie showing what happened with Han on Ord Mantell with that bounty hunter like you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, this idea of, DC has been doing this for a long time, where they would do these direct to streaming, but at time it was direct to home video Blu-ray releases of these, these great comic stories, then bring them to life into an animated little feature. When Disney acquired Lucasfilm, I remember us talking a lot about that possibility, especially then when Disney Plus came online. We thought, well, this is probably something that they're going to do. It doesn't seem to me that that's in the plans. I wish it would. I think they're much more interested in building these sort of longer term things. I mean, let's keep in mind, they did attempt this to some degree with the standalone Star Wars films, that they were going to go in and plug some gaps and tell some stories of things that had been talked about in the films. And we see how that went. So, would they adapt and do a sort of Star Wars anthology stories in animation? Seems doubtful, but I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it, especially some Clone Wars stuff, since they have all those assets. Why not give us a little, 75-minute expanded, Clone Wars story with all that?
Yeah,
I have a question about those DC
her story kind of ends in that book.
What book? I'm sorry?
I cut you off. Can you repeat that, please?
Oh, well, I'm just saying Ventress's story ended in Dark Disciple. I just wish we could see that ending fully animated.
Yeah. It's a shame. They had all these scripts and they didn't want to burn them. And at the time, it appeared that the Clone Wars would never come back. They closed Lucasfilm Animation and fired everyone except for a handful that then moved into the Disney era with the company. But it just seemed like they were desperate. They had these stories and they didn't know what to do with them. So they turned one into a novel, one into a comic book. And I don't know what else they did with the rest of them. I think they rolled them over into what finally became season 7. But that is an essential storyline, the Dark Disciple, as is the Son of Dathomir, which was turned into a comic book. That really fills in the gap between Darth Maul being taken captive by Palpatine after he killed Savage Opress, and then Darth Maul appearing as I guess the next time we saw him, he was a weird old hermit living on Malachor in the Rebels series.
Right.
How did he get there? I mean, we needed that whole story about how he escaped the captivity of the
that would make
Darth
an excellent direct to streaming, small film or whatever you want to call it. What were you going to say, Jim? You said you had a question about those DC.
Yeah.
Movies.
They use a lot of curse words and profanity in those films, and that really turns me off because they don't have that sort of language in the comic books themselves. And you guys know me; I'm no prude. I'm good friends with F.J. DeSanto, for crying out loud. I can handle an F-bomb or whatever, but I just like consistency with the source material. It's one of the reasons I don't like swearing on Rebel Force radios, because they don't swear in Star Wars yet. But it really turns me off how they use profanity in new Star Trek and in those DC animated features. I just don't think it fits the vibe.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed because those that listen know what a fan I am of the Batman animated series, and they did they kind of brought that aesthetic back for a Harley Quinn story that they did direct to video, and it was kind of overtly sexual at times, and it was like, I'm not going to say, I was, telling my kids how much, Batman Animated, how great that series is. And my daughter has always loved the look of Harley Quinn. And I'm glad I watched it first because it was just a little too much. It's just too much,
And that's a shame. That's a shame. And that's inconsistent with the source material.
I agree.
So,
hey, here's a super chat from Dilly. Not your Dilly. Dilly248 says, Jabba probably had several Rancors. Probably.
We never heard of it, though. And I'm only aware of one dungeon underneath his palace. But he could have had several dungeons. You're right. He could have been breeding Rancors for all we know.
Yeah, like the illegal pet trade or something. Who knows?
Could very well be. Maybe some gangsters came over and said, wow, you got one of those? How can I get one of those? And then the wheels started turning and somebody saw profit and decided to get into the Rancor breeding business. Yeah.
I wonder what the gestation term for a Rancor is. Like elephants. I think it's like 15, 16 months or something like that.
Yeah.
Rancor must be really something. Hey, let's check in with Tyler. Tyler, great job on the call screening. A lot of really good callers. With all the discussion that you've been listening to, did you have any thoughts you wanted to share with us about this episode before we wrap up?
I don't get to listen to the show that much because I'm, talking to other people.
Right.
But one of the things that I want to see is I want to see Tobias Beckett interact with Sid so that we can get a good classic Cheers reunion between Woody Harrelson and Ray Perlman. And then Ray, she's married to Danny, so then you can get Danny into the show.
Now, somehow. Well, she was. She was.
Yeah.
I was disappointed to see that they had split up because that ruins my Star Wars dream.
Yeah, well, maybe you find a young Major Darlin in there, and then you can really get the Cheers cast all together. You're going to have Woody. You're going to have Cliff. Yeah.
Wow. Does anybody have Shelley Long's number or Ted Danson's number over at Lucas Animation? We need a whole Cheers reunion on the Bad Batch.
Yeah, maybe they do. Maybe they just do a whole live action series that takes place in a cantina. Afternoon, everybody.
Oh, disappointing news. I heard back from Lucasfilm Animation, and they only have Kirstie Alley's number.
Oh, no.
Can't win them all.
For sure not. All right. Well, this was a lot of fun. Thank you all so much for tuning in, listening. Tyler, thanks so much for your great call screening abilities. Really great episode. I thought I was fulfilled. The last week's episode, I didn't feel fulfilled. I do have to say that there better be a big payoff with who is who's commissioned Fennec Shand, because there's now 2 episodes that we had an opportunity to reveal that, and they keep kicking the can further down the road. So let's hope that it's going to be a big name. I suspect that it will, and they're building up that suspense. Still great seeing Bib Fortuna, the Gamorrean guards, and the baby Rancor. I loved it. I loved it all. I really, really did. As I said at the top, definitely we're seeing the seeds of the formula coming together where Bad Batch have to sort of complete a mission in order to get some information or money. We see that play out on the Mandalorian. But Mandalorian also has episodes where he's not involved in that stuff. He's still living off of the last gig. So maybe that won't be the case for the Bad Batch forever. But still, I liked it very much. Jimmy Mack, any final thoughts on Bad Batch Rampage?
Well, much like last week's episode, we are still getting to know these characters, and we're bonding with them as they bond together with this kid and go about their adventures. I think this episode was key in really developing Omega's competence level and what we can expect from her. Super impressed that she unleashed that baby Rancor. And I just thought it was a fist pump moment when she told the guy exactly what she did. I'm not sneaking around. I'm unlocking that cage. It was just great. And then mayhem. I maybe a little disappointed with the showdown between Hunter and the Zygerian chief, the slaver chief. I was expecting maybe a little more of a truly epic battle between the two of them, but it was pretty quick. And they silenced that threat rather quickly. The biggest battle was Baby Rancor against that flying lizard thing, and that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, that was sort of a King Kong Godzilla sort of moment.
We haven't really seen Rancors battling other beasts in Star Wars before, to the best of my knowledge, and it was even more exciting to see an infant Rancor take on a beast. So it just kind of underscores how powerful those things actually become when they grow to maturity. And it was just fun. It was a fun episode. Again, the stakes aren't really that high for the gang yet. But again, we're still getting to know them. We're not even at the midway point of this season. And I predict as we get there, we'll start to see things really start to ramp up. For the final 8 episodes, I think that's when things will really start taking off. I'm looking forward to appearances from other characters too. The potential is so great. Even if it is Cliff Clavin or whatever that guy was on Hoth, Derlin, even if it is him. I just love those little nods to the past and future of Star Wars. That this series is perfectly placed to provide the true bridge between the two trilogies. Rebels was there, but Rebels is more connected to the original trilogy than it is the prequels. This is great to see that transition from Republic to Empire and really start to slide down into the dark times and understand what the effect of the Empire has on the normal citizens of the galaxy. We see Luke, he's kind of down and out at the beginning of Star Wars: A New Hope, but he's on a planet where the Empire doesn't really have much interest. So their oppression isn't truly felt in planets with big cities like Ord Mantell. You can see that it's affecting people. We get these stories everywhere they go. They visit Cutler Quain, they see it firsthand. They visit Plutonia, and they see people rejoicing that the Empire is there. And then they come and meet up with Sid in this episode, and they find out that the Empire's been bad for her business. It's like affecting people. The fallout is affecting people on different levels. And I think as this series continues, we're going to start to see the oppression of the Empire become more obvious. It'll happen when they drop a Star Destroyer on top of a city or something. And that'll open up people's eyes. Like, we really better walk in step or else we're in big trouble. Our existence is in danger.
I suspect that what we will see leading up to that moment is perhaps more overt rebellion. I think right now the galaxy's a little quiet. Now, we know there's Saw Gerrera and there's stuff like that, but I think we'll see a moment in time, Jim, like you're saying, where things get a little, maybe a little out of control, and they're gonna drop the hammer, and that they is probably Tarkin.
Yeah, we're gonna see him leading the parade, and also Rampart.
Right.
We're assuming that he's really very loyal to the Empire, but he could also be the type of guy who suddenly gets a whiff of his own morals and where he stands ethically, and he may provide a distraction to Tarkin when Tarkin's trying to carry out something truly evil and oppressive, thus becoming an enemy of Tarkin. So that could happen.
Yeah.
Where we see that guy turncoat, much like Agent Callus in Rebels. We're noticing similar themes play out, maybe in different ways in different series, but I mean, everyone's noted the connections, the similarities to certain things, elements of The Mandalorian. And I think we can expect to maybe see some elements of Rebels that seem familiar to us show up here in the Bad Batch as well. But one thing that's not going to show up in the Bad Batch is Newt Gunray, because he's dead. Not in this episode.
All right, that's going to do it for us. We'll see you next time. Got something special to leave you with this week from the mind of Darth Elvis. See you next time. Chut, chut.
The song is Chut Chut.
I've been alone with you inside my mind, and I awake in a cold sweat night after night. I dream of you all tied up by a fire. Chut chut, is it me you're looking for? I can see you in my dreams, lying on a panther's hide. My stepsister's kinda smoking, stepdad's good at you right. 'Cause I don't know where to look, but I'll search round the dune sea, and I won't stop till I find you. Wait for me. See the Tuscans in despair as they slaughter women and the kids without a care. Sometimes feel my hatred overflow. Chut chut, I've just got to let you know, 'cause I wonder where you are, and all the things that you've been through. Are you somewhere feeling lonely, or are Tuscans killing you? Will I ever see you again? For my heart ain't saying poodoo, but let me start by saying I miss you.
Chut chut Wallow. Kibuda! Ty nowa chut chut! Dygmy czasa hopa. Kibuda! I basta the Skywalker. Eddie! Little Eddie! Nah! You are Eddie! It is you! The soul sprouted! A Jedi!
Chut chut!
What do you know?
Is it me you're looking for? 'Cause I wonder where you are, and all the things that you've been through. Are you somewhere feeling lonely, or are Tuscans killing you? Will I ever see you again? For my heart ain't saying poodoo, but let me stop by saying I miss you.
The Force will be with you, always.